Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're gonna be talking a great remake today, and honestly, it has a lot of idle time, but I put 95 hours into it, and I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I put the full 95 into it. It's more like 40 or 35 hours, but it was an awesome experience. So we're gonna get into that. Like always, this is Filmic Gaming. If you guys enjoy the conversations and you guys want to be a part of it every week, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you guys can get the videos whenever they drop. This is our first discussion video in a long time. We really wanted to just finish the game, go through another playthrough, even play Mercenaries, which has been awesome as well.
There was a lot to get through.
But yeah, we're pretty much all well versed in it, so we're ready to go. What do you guys like best about this remake and what they brought to the table with RE4?
I mean, there was a lot that was done differently, that was done better, in my opinion, even though I didn't have too much experience with the original game. But to me, the combat was just so even like compared to like a lot of other just like general like AAA games, like the combat was so fluid and seamless, and like the gunplay was so much fun. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just like the perfect like pacing of combat. And I know for me, like watching like the original, like just like the having the stop, point, and shoot. I know stopping and shooting in the remake does make you more accurate. It doesn't like really affect like like it's not like you can't shoot like in the original game, but like
I feel like it was pretty clunky in the original. As much as it
yeah,
added the
exactly.
tension, it was still clunky, the mechanics, and that's 2005. You
Exactly.
can't
Yeah,
blame it.
exactly. It's outdated. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but that definitely was a big change. And then, some little story elements here and there, or like reworking, or like, I remember hearing someone say that when you find the dog, when you find the dog that's like trapped, it's like in a different section in this game that it was in the original. So like little things
Yeah.
like that. And, but obviously the end effect of, the
It's
dog.
still the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which was so
Mhm.
awesome. I loved that. I love that.
Mhm.
Like when it popped up with the lightning bolt in the background, I was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
saved that dog." I was also a victim of not being able to complete the game the first time I played it.
Yeah.
Um, the first time I played RE4, honestly, is gonna shock a lot of people, but it was during pandemic on the Switch, and it was one
On
of
the
those things
Switch
where
at that.
on the Switch, and honestly, it was a great because it's not a graphically intensive game, so
Mhm.
it worked out really fine. And honestly, when we were in pandemic, let's be real, like I was rooming with 3 other people and there was one TV in the living room. So you couldn't necessarily just be on the TV playing video games all day, right? So
Right.
I was really on handheld a lot, but I was going from game to game like crazy, right? You're stuck indoors, you got nothing to do. I probably went through like 12 games in that one like year span of just being indoors a lot.
Oh
So I
yeah.
was on RE4, but by the time I got to Vittorius Mendez, which is like the first real boss fight that you get to, um I beat him and I kind of just got not disinterested in a way, but I was like, all right, I just got into the next thing. I started playing other games. I started playing Zelda a lot more at one point. So it wasn't that I never wanted to finish it. I was very distracted at the time. So that was as far as I got. So when it came to the remake, it was amazing
Oh
to
yeah.
experience this all this way
Mhm.
again.
And especially with older games in general, I feel like it's hard to like get you as sucked in. Like when you're so used to modern games and like the way they look now,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
hard to get sucked into like an older game as much as you
Mhm.
would like a newer game. That's why I think this trend of remaking amazing games from the past is amazing, because it's like, I mean, obviously I could go back and replay the original Dead Space, no problem, because I don't know, that's just a classic for
2008,
me.
right? That
Yeah,
one?
but
2008?
yeah,
Mhm. It's not
exactly.
long.
But still, like just the general trend is good, because like people like me who never played the original when it came out for Resident Evil 4, like now I'm playing this one, and it's like I know it's a little bit reworked and a little bit different, but it's still like getting that same old school experience, just with like the height
Yeah.
graphics that allow me to get my sucked in more so.
Like the
Yeah.
core is still there, which is
Exactly.
what matters the most.
Mhm. Yeah, it was something that was very refreshing. I mean, we're in the remake era. Let's be real.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah, it's the trend.
remakes nowadays, they've been
Mhm.
hitting and they haven't missed. And honestly, I think it's just coming from a sense of developers really understanding that the people who play the games, us, the fans, come first, right? Like we understand the game and the way that we played it back, when we did. Now there are some changes that were unwelcome, right? There were some dialogue changes that people were like, oh, like if you take out the no thanks, bro, like or no thanks, dude line, like I don't want to hear it. When
Yeah.
Leon is speaking to Ramon,
Mhm.
for
Well,
the first time.
they kept the bingo line. That's the most important one, I feel
Yes,
like.
yes, I love that,
Where's
right?
everyone
Because
going? Bingo.
Yeah, but that wasn't a controversial like line in terms of like
Yeah,
what they were like trying to say with it, you know. But you did get the achievement though. If you guys remember, the achievement when you get it is no thanks, bro. Like that's you get
yeah,
an achievement. So they put it in there in a way. They didn't put it as dialogue, so it was
right.
funny. But there were so many refreshing things that they did with this remake that just made you realize like, all right, even though I played through this before, is this is completely new. They've switched up, locations, the map layouts. They switched up a little bit, and then just the way things look. Obviously, this game's beautiful. I mean, when it first came out, it was a little bit on the stuttery side, especially on PS5.
Yeah.
Brendan, I know you played it on PC. How was your experience on PC?
Honestly, my I didn't. I think similar to you. Like the first, I would say like the first day or two that I played it, I definitely noticed a little bit of stuttering, like a little bit of like
Hmm.
a little bit of a delay, a little bit of a lag. But I would say after like the first like day or two, and I never adjusted my graphics. I played it
On
on like
high
yeah,
settings?
I played it on like the max settings, yeah, and it looked great and it ran fine. But
Yeah.
just
For
the
me, I
first day, a
mean,
little bit of stuttering. Beyond that, it
just
was
as a
fine.
contrary like picture, for me, the first couple days, actually it started in the demo, which I knew wasn't a finished product, and I
Yeah,
was actually very confident that when the game actually released, there would be a day one patch, and it would iron out some of those kinks when it came to the stuttering and the frame rate drops.
yeah,
But in order for me to get the demo to work at a smooth frame rate, I had to put it in performance mode. I had to turn off the hair physics. I had to turn off the ray tracing. I had to turn off just any setting that even like chromatic aberration and things like that. I turned all of those things down. Film grain, and motion blur. I turned it down. It
yeah,
wasn't until I turned down. I still remember. It wasn't until I turned down the motion blur even that it actually ended up looking smoother in terms of not dropping those frames all the time. Once the game came out, I was able to turn on motion blur, and I always keep off chromatic aberration. I just don't like the way it looks on the edges of the screen. It kind of like blurs the edges and puts more focus on the center. I like
Hmm.
the whole screen to look crisp, so I just kind of turn it off. But I was able to turn on a couple other things. I still left the hair off because it was still stuttering and it still wasn't giving me that smooth experience. And I to this day I haven't really experienced the game with ray tracing on, just because I can't stand, being a PC gamer. I can't stand stuttering frame rates and jitteriness when it comes to what you see on the screen. But with everything all that said, performance mode, 60 frames, they fixed it. It's really smooth now. But that was my experience, like the first, I'd say week and a half, because I think there was a patch that came out, and it was about like 3 weeks in, I believe, after the game came out. That really was touted as the one that would iron out all the wrinkles for the game's performance on all platforms, and it did help. It did help a lot. So I think I was about halfway through the game at that point, so it really was nice to get that smooth frame rate all the way through. But other than that, performance aside, we have to go to the gunplay, right? We have to go to the gunplay and the combat. Everything from the kicks to the suplexes.
oh my god, yeah.
to the, to the
I still remember the first time that I like got suplex someone in that game. I was like, "Oh, thank God!" I'm like, "This is
yeah.
fucking awesome."
There are still things I haven't figured out, how to do, just because I've really tried to just enjoy this without the internet as much as possible. I've been editing through it. As you guys know, here at Filmic, we make cinematic edits as I play through the game. But it's just been something a little different in terms of when I find out a new thing you can do. Like the backflip. I haven't figured out how to do the backflip yet, just because I haven't been able to get myself in a situation to do it.
No, I think I did it a couple of times. It was one of those things where I never really knew what it was that made me do it, but I just know what happened a couple times, and I was like, "All right,
Yeah, like
cool."
L1 sprint and circle is like to dodge. You do like you don't dodge necessarily, but you start to run in a certain direction, and it counts as a dodge in a way.
Yeah,
The parry I ended up getting when I got to the castle. That's when I really got the parry down, just
yeah. It
because I
took me a
kind
bit
of
for that.
I kind of panicked, and I was just like taking out the knife, and I took it out right when they threw the scythe at me, and I actually parried the scythe throw. It was amazing. It was beautiful,
The panic
and it was
parry.
my God, man, that moment was such a euphoria moment. I was like, yo, what the holy shit. I almost died. I had like no health. And I just pulled out the knife to like attack this guy. He throws the scythe at me at that specific moment, and I parried it. And I was like,
That
it
was
was
your
just
anime moment, bro.
Yeah, man, and the game is filled with moments like that, right? And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
something that was so well done was the combat in this game.
It was definitely one of the most addicting parts too. Just like the combat system was so good. The mixture of like the
Mhm.
gunplay and the melee and the knife. And like I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I maxed out my knife before I maxed out anything else. Like I
Oh,
maxed out.
that was so smart. That was so
Yeah.
smart, man. Looking back, I really wish that was one of the things I would have done because it's so useful. Obviously, once you get Krauser's knife later in the
Oh
game,
yeah. Oh
that's
yeah,
when things
dude.
really get interesting in terms of the knife because it's just overall stronger.
I
You still
never.
have to max it out,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
so much
even
better.
Krauser's knife, like not upgraded, is like almost as strong and durable
OP as hell.
as like
OP.
yeah, as like the
I
regular knife.
sold my knife immediately. I
Yeah,
was like,
no,
I don't
like
need this shit anymore.
oh, I kept both. I just kept both, and I was like, more knives for Brendan.
More knives for Brendan. Yeah.
Yeah, because also like it also comes in handy when like if like you're ever like overwhelmed and like you get grabbed by someone, you can just stab them. It's always like a perfect like get out of like
Yes.
jail free card when someone grabs you. Just like oh
Yes.
fuck, out my knife, and stab you in the neck real quick. There you go.
For sure. Obviously, going through the game, one of the things that struck me about it is just how addicting it is in terms of when you get to the next section, the game does an amazing job at introducing new enemies to you at a gradual pace
Oh yeah.
as you get through that makes it more and more difficult. And then putting you in situations where you really have to resource manage more so than you've ever done in any RE game before. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I caught myself just moving things around so much, changing up my shortcuts because I like to hit the left arrow and the right arrow,
Yeah.
and then putting certain weapons like on the second slot behind that. Like it really matters in terms of your strategy. And then like I would die. I think it was if you guys remember the section in the castle when there's two of those brutes in there, the ones with the Wolverine claws.
Oh yeah,
And
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yup.
you guys remember that
Mhm.
room?
Yeah.
Yo, that room when you had to, like, shoot the bells in order to make them, like, go to it, which they
Yes.
they had the bells in multiple sections. I just honestly didn't know that was what they were for until I got in there, and I, like, shot one by accident because they were, like, around the area. Then I saw them run, and they, like, threw it into the wall. I was like it's just little things like that that develops your strategy and everything. But, I found myself in there I died probably like 10 times, 12 times,
Yeah.
honestly. I couldn't get a hang of what I needed to do to survive these two behemoths and how fast they moved. But eventually, I got into a loop of just I went in and I went handgun, boom, 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 killed all the little guys, right? Or at least,
Mhm.
suplexed all of them, kicked them, whatever I needed to do, shot the legs. Took out the shotgun immediately after. Now, this is like Rambo style, right? Took out the shotgun immediately after, knowing what the directional button it is shooting them like as many times as I could, running away, taking out my submachine gun, doing a couple of bullets on the bells. That's just the kind of loop that you get into when it comes to the combat in the game. You're bouncing from weapon to weapon. So it's like it's kind of took elements from RE5 in a way. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people loved the weapon switching from RE5 and how quickly you were able to bounce back and forth and change your strategy. So what do you guys think about, maybe any situations you were in while you were like, you were like really stuck and eventually you got a strategy down and you just went gung
Well,
ho.
literally, as you're recounting this, it made me think of one specific section that was also in the castle. It was the section where you had to like drop down a couple levels and get that wheel that you had to use to lower the staircases. If you remember that
Oh
section.
yeah. Oh my
So yeah,
god,
and so
man.
I remember like you start off on the main level, and I cleared out that room no problem. I remember when you open the big double doors. There's like one guy like off in the balcony. I sniped him. A wave of people come in. I dealt them off, and I was already low on ammo. And I was like, all right, I took those guys out. That was good. And then you drop down another level, you get the wheel. And then once you drop down though, is when a whole bunch of a whole bunch of people with shields come and like swarm you. And this was like, there must have been like five or like maybe like six or seven or eight, even eight like guys down there. And then like they all like are the guys that like turned into those giant, that their head explodes and the giant
That's
like
what was
tentacle things
very
coming out.
annoying.
Yeah. And so there was like so many of them, and I'm like back into a corner, and I just have like, and I'm like literally like I'm like it took me like 5 or 6 fucking shotgun shots just to like kill one of them, and I'm like, all I have is my pistol, and I was like low on
Yep.
rifle ammo, and
You
I was
weren't
like,
strong yet,
yeah,
man.
I
Oh my
was like, oh my,
god.
it took me like 5 or 6 times of like figuring out different loops and like what
Mhm.
weapon or like what progression of weapons to use to take them out. Like, I'm like, oh, rifle shot
Mhm.
here. I was like, because I was so used to like either one rifle shot or like one shotgun shot, like taking out those things. But like, I guess I just gotten to a point where the difficulty progressed a little bit,
They
so
were
now it didn't.
eating those,
Yeah, they were just
eating
like,
them,
yeah,
man.
exactly. They were just eating it. I was like, oh no, 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 no,
Mhm.
like please, please, no.
And then the
So
beauty of them when they go on the roof, I honestly thought of that as a way out. And I
yeah,
made the bad mistake of going directly under them because when they go up there, you're like, oh, all right, that's stupid. All right, I'm gonna run over here because I was stuck in the corner like you. So I would then try to like run under them. But when you run under them, they drop down and they just demolish you. And I
yeah,
by the way, the kill animations are amazing,
oh
especially with
yeah,
the flailing, the flailing whip heads.
yeah.
Those guys, when they would like hit you and then cut your head off and
They
everything,
can
like
one shot
everything
you.
was just
Yeah,
so well
they,
done.
at the right angle, those guys can one shot you, just rip your head off.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to be kind of low on health at the same time, but not
Yeah.
even too low. Like you could just be like a little under halfway, and they'll just rip your head right off. You
Oh, wait,
know?
one quick question I have for you guys is: did you spend the spinels on like the exclusive upgrade ticket and then get it? Because I got well, I got the deluxe edition, so I got the Skull Shaker, and the exclusive upgrade perk with that is if you have it fully upgraded and you equip the exclusive upgrade ticket, it does double damage, like completely double, like doubles your damage.
Jesus.
So when I had that thing fully upgraded, it was like almost like not fair because that thing would like blow. Like I literally like when I'm the final boss or like one of like the end stage bosses. I remember like or no when I fought Ramon, the little short guy, like the
Oh, that boss fight was
yeah.
so
Like,
hard,
I remember
man.
fighting him, I just, like, whipped out the shotgun, and I made sure I had, like, 15, 20 like, shells in there, and I just, like, kept shooting that motherfucker in the face over and over, and I was just like, this thing it made the fight so much easier than it otherwise would have been. I'm like, "Thank God I planned accordingly." Because the second I saw that it had the, exclusive upgrade perk of double damage, I'm like, "That's where I need to go with this thing." Like, that is too
Yeah.
good. Because I was
Mhm.
debating buying the riot gun or, like, getting other shotguns, but I was like, "If I just upgrade this and stick with it, it'll be rewarding in the end," and it definitely was.
Yes. That was one of the beautiful things about the combat too, the upgrade paths and the upgrade trees for everything. Like as much as you thought and you look at it and it goes, oh, it only goes up 0.3. Like what the hell? That shit matters. Like it actually is a lot of power or a lot of reload speed or a lot of fire rate, right?
Uh,
And
I
and you'll make your way through, you know?
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, I stuck with the what is it? I pretty much fully stuck with the original pistol that you get. Although I did actually eventually switch over to the Sentinel, and I did use that a lot. I did,
The Sentinel is the one that I stayed with,
yeah,
actually. I actually sold the first one that I had, Leon's gun, and I stuck with the Sentinel,
yeah, the SR.
just because I like the power and the fire rate, like, right off the bat for it, you know?
Hmm.
It was a DLC, it was a pre-order weapon, so, it's like it was already kind of when it comes to
Pretty
the
OP.
skull shaker in that one, it was a little bit, they're always a little bit ahead of the game than
Yeah.
your initial guns. So I just kind of stuck with those two, and I really just upgraded them as much as possible. I didn't upgrade the knife as much as I needed to, right? So the durability was always low for me. Um and I felt like that was another part of the game that really was just another layer I didn't get to in my first playthrough, and that's like the charms that you can get, right? Like there's
Hmm.
going and doing the tasks for the merchant and getting the spinels so you can buy like all these things. Like I got the ones in the beginning just because they were kind of like really easy and happened in natural gameplay in a way. So I got like the TMP stock, right, for the machine gun, for the submachine gun that makes it more accurate, right?
Yeah,
Um, I actually had the Red 9 and I sold it, but I had already gotten the stock for it, and I didn't
yeah.
know that if you keep it and you put the stock on it, like these are all things that I learned as the game went on, combining gun parts together even to
Mhm.
Yeah.
upgrade the weapons, right?
I did the same thing with the
Um
Red 9. I got it, put the stock, and then I sold it because like, it was good, and I was told that's the best game in the gun. But then I
yeah, if
also
you
heard,
upgrade it all the way, apparently it's
yeah,
the best. It's
but
one
I
of the
also
best
heard that they
ones.
nerfed it compared to the original too. So I'm not really sure what was the accurate. But I managed
Mhm.
fine with the Sentinel, so I didn't really feel the need to waste the money, and or I wanted the money
Yeah.
from the Red 9 anyway.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. And that's just like another that's like I was saying before, the charms is a layer of the game I haven't touched yet, right? I've gone to do those the practice
The shooting range,
challenges that you can
shooting,
do at the merchant,
yeah, the
and
shooting range.
Mhm.
I've done a bunch of them, and it's really fun. but you can only you really need to get into it in order to get the charms, right? You got to get 3 tickets and you go to the or 3 tokens and you go to the machine and you redeem them, you get charms. So I was getting like kind of charms that didn't really matter at first, like the first 3 that I got. One like 40% ability to 40% more on reloads for I think submachine guns, but I didn't have the
Oh,
submachine gun at the time. So it was like it was things that I was getting that didn't, and I kind of let it go. But like on my second playthrough, my third playthrough, like I'm definitely gonna be
Hmm.
going through and getting those charms right off the
yeah.
bat.
I think the
Just they
charms
increase
I
power.
had one charm that was I think increased like well no the case that I had was the one that increases increases handgun ammo, and then I
Yeah.
had a couple charms. I think I had one charm for shotgun shells. I had another charm that like just reduced damage. I think from a certain type of enemy. I forget, and then I had one more that I don't remember exactly. But I had 3 charms on my case at the end of the game. I remember.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I don't remember that being in the original, right? Charms was new to this one.
I honestly don't know. I'm not sure to be
Yeah, I
honest.
don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's something where I was at, there wasn't any charms. There were the treasure inlaying was something that was in there, and I just
Hmm.
absolutely love
Yeah,
the treasure inlaying
I agree.
because I messed up so many times on that.
Yeah,
I messed up so many times. Like I was just so anxious. I'm like 32,000 pesetas. Let's go, bro. I'm giving that up. And then like in the next room, I would find an emerald that would have given me like 50.
yeah, that much more. Yeah,
Like I love the ability of the game to make you want to sell it, but knowing that if you just had a little patience, you would be rewarded.
yeah,
Like
and
it was just so ingenious,
I
man.
feel like by the end of the game, my ears were so trained to like whenever I heard a little creak, I would look up and look for the lantern to shoot to
Yeah.
get like a gem, or every time I'd hear like the little
The back and forth, like the
Y yeah, I
bobblehead.
was gonna say the bobblehead
Hmm.
Yeah.
sound, like, I would, like, always hear that, I'm like, "Oh, it's around here somewhere." I found all 16, I don't know about you guys, but I found all 16 of those,
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
those
awesome.
bobblehead things.
I haven't found all of any of those collectibles. Just because I was just so focused on the gameplay loop
You're
and
just
just
running through the story.
no, man. I took my damn time. Honestly, mostly because I was dying a lot, but I
Yeah.
took my damn time, man. I looked at all the environments. I really enjoyed the scenery that they created in a bunch of sections. There's like a few areas. I think when you get to the lake, when you first get out there, there's just like a nice vista when you get out there and you can just see the castle in the distance. You see the lake. This is after you already beat the lake monster, and it's sunset, right? Right before the night happened, and it's just like there's so many moments where you can just really absorb like what they did to remake the game, and it's just really well done in so many parts.
What
But
what what I was gonna say, what do you guys think was, like, this section that scared the shit out of you the most?
oh man, bro,
Because I once
honestly, that changed on me like 4 different times throughout the
Yeah.
game. That you get through the basement in the castle when you first find that guy, the first brute with the Wolverine
Yeah,
claws.
okay, that's
Yep.
exactly what I was gonna say, because that the Garador, that's literally what was it's burned into my
Garador, yeah, the
brain. When you
Garador.
have to run through it's like you have to like it's like, "Oh, duck so you don't knock over the chains and make noise," but it's impossible to do that, so you just no matter what, you wake him up
I
and
had no idea what I was doing. I was just
yeah.
crouching because
No,
I didn't want to. I just thought that was stealth, and I
I
went through
died.
like every train,
Yeah,
and then he broke through. I was like, honestly, I did it in the edit. In believe it was called Sacrilege. It was the third edit.
yeah.
It was one part that I did. I had a lot of fun with that edit, and there was is it's just something when he first breaks free of the chains and you're running down that hallway, you don't realize how fast he is,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So when you get to that section, you're like, all right, I'm good. I'm just gonna try to like hide somewhere. All of a sudden, all you hear behind you is some freaking behemoth Sonic running, just like boom, boom, boom,
Son.
boom. And you
The
look back
moment you
and his
turn
arms are
around,
like
yep,
back.
it's
Yeah,
over.
he's Sonic running, bro. His arms are back and he's just like running at you full speed. And there's no reaction in the world. If you've never played the game before, at least up until that point, there's no reaction in the world that
Yeah.
will prepare you for how fast that mofo's in your face.
You
You
know, it's
know?
so funny. The first time I encountered him, I died like a few times in that section, like trying to like kill him, and then
Yeah.
but like because like it's so like it is genuinely like fear inducing, like hearing him come up behind you. That like I kept like the first few times I went after him, like I just like was not even like thinking strategy. I was just like, oh fuck, bullet, 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 just like pump him full of lead. You know what I mean? And then eventually the first time I finally actually killed him, um it probably was like my third or fourth try, and I was like, you know what? I wasted all of my ammo killing this motherfucker. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to my most recent save and then redo that, but smarter. So I just kept doing it until I was like, I did like the least amount of ammo. I was like, I'm like too like freaked out, and I'm just throwing all of my ammo into this guy. I'm like, I need to like be smarter about this and not just waste all of my ammo on him.
You're not the only one. I'm
Yeah,
sure so many people
Oh
went back to
yeah,
their previous
yeah.
saves to try to conserve ammo and just like, go through that gameplay loop a little bit more efficiently, right? Like use your shotgun a little bit more, then follow that up with your handgun.
yeah,
When
Hmm.
he turns around and exposes his parasite, submachine gun that shit. Like just lay a whole clip into it. Cause I actually made my submachine gun pretty strong. So it
yeah.
was able to handle a lot.
It took
But
me
yeah,
far too long
nothing.
to realize I had to shoot the thing on his back the first few times.
Yeah, yeah, bro. I mean, honestly, you're focused on where he's coming at you, which is the front. It wasn't
Exactly.
until like I got
Hmm.
behind him and I realized that thing was back there. It happened a few times. I mean, you obviously realize as the game goes on, the parasites are what you aim for, but it's not necessarily. You're always expecting it to be a
Yeah,
little different, but it actually is kind of like the same for like every difficult enemy. There's a parasite you got to aim for, and that's the way you can really get them, right?
yeah.
With that huge behemoth guy, right, that you face.
Oh, El Gigante is what they call him. El Gigante is what they call him.
El Gigante, right. So,
Yeah,
like, like that's the first time you really realize, all right, the parasite pops out. But with the Gyarados, like, there's no way. He's just it's so fear-inducing that you're just focused on getting away from him.
yeah,
You're shooting him in the front, you're shooting him in the head, realizing eventually that that's not what you're supposed to do. But just the viciousness of his attacks, like when he would get you and just cut the top half of your torso off clean,
yeah,
you would just feel so small and insignificant, and you'd be like, God damn, I messed that up bad. Yeah, I gotta go back and do that again, right? So, eventually that was definitely my scariest moment at first, but it quickly changed just because I knew the anticipation of the regenerator was something that I had heard about so much
oh
about that
yeah,
it's one of the scariest
Hmm.
sections in the
Yep.
game, in the original game, and this the buildup of it, not knowing when it was gonna come. I would say the regenerator when I got to it, just because I didn't expect it,
yeah. Terrifying.
that was freaking terrifying, bro. Like it was one thing because when you first go into the room, first of all, that's some Dead Space shit right there. I don't know if that was in the original game, but when you first go into the room with the regenerator and it's like propped up on the surgery table
Oh
and it's
yeah,
got all these freaking pins and like mechanical like steel blades in its back and it's like pulled back like it's being picked up and it's just frozen there. That initial scene, I'll put it in the video for the background, but that initial scene when you walk in there, that's terrifying because he's gonna move, right? It's gonna do something, and he didn't, and ended up coming from somewhere else. But when it first shows up and it's just got those teeth, right? And it's just like you're shooting it and nothing's happening. And then you shoot the legs off and it starts crawling at you like that. Like that's when it has that crawling animation.
oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Just genuinely that one was terrifying. Just 'cause how dark that section was too. There was like a part you run through where like you have to use your flashlight. I think you turn off the power at one point in that
Yeah,
section,
you
right?
have to. Yeah, because you got to. You get.
Have to.
Yeah.
So there you go. Dead Space's inspiration, I believe, in the first repair bay. There's that section where you got to turn off the power and then just like run through the whole area with no light, right?
Hmm.
Now I can
Hmm.
tell. Okay, wow, like that's interesting. It got that from RE4. So that section probably got me as like the scariest part, but maybe the Garador, that first Garador scene has got to be like either equal or a close second in terms of scariest parts of the game.
I hated every second with those damn bugs, bro.
Oh yeah,
Which
those
one? The
bugs were
flying
annoying. Yeah,
ones?
the flying
Yes,
bugs were
they
annoying. Yeah.
fly, they be in the water, bro. Like they're just everywhere throughout that section.
Yeah, they
I,
definitely were pesty.
I would just try
And
to stab those guys out the sky. I would just like get as close as I can with my knife and just try to swat
I
them out
think
with.
the other ones were even more annoying. The ones that would go and attach to enemies and make them just run at you. Those were even because whenever they weren't attached to someone, they would come up to I couldn't shoot them. I like the movement wasn't fast enough. So like they would come up to me, they would grab me and then stab me in the back like with the two pincers twice, like 5 times in a row. Those were pretty annoying. What would you say was your favorite enemy to fight against? Boss
Honestly,
included, it could be side enemy, but
I really enjoyed the fight, although it was a struggle to fight with Luis and those two giant trolls, and you had to try to open the pit to get them like sucked into like the lava pit, whatever, to burn
Oh
them.
wow, I actually did that too. I have to record.
Yeah,
I actually did it. I was able to do it as one, not to both. I
yeah, no, me
killed
too.
one, and I got the second one. That was really cool. I thought that was a shell shock. I had no idea. Like when one came and then the other, I was like, "Is this game fucking insane? Like, what
Yeah,
is
I
going
was,
on, bro?"
yeah, I was like,
Like
what am I supposed to do with this?
it's like I don't have the bullets. I didn't have the bullets for it, bro. Until I found some crates, I kept breaking crates, but I found extra ones, and I was able to get shotgun bullets, and I was able to just kill one, and then I spent the next 10 minutes just trying to get the other one to get to the middle, so I could just drop him in the lava, and it worked. That was fun. That was definitely fun. What about you, Sho? Do you remember any enemies, any like maybe bosses or enemies you really enjoyed from Mario 4?
Torres Mendez
Oh yeah,
fighting him in a
Yeah,
Big
that's
flaming
cheese,
building.
big cheese.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Father Mendez.
Yeah.
He reminded me of like Mr. X from like Resident Evil 2,
Yeah, when he had the trench coat on, that's what I was saying. I thought he was
Tyrant.
like another
Yeah,
variant like that. But then
Nemesis or
when,
whatever. Yeah,
yeah, but then when he like transformed, I was like, oh, so he's kind of gave me a little bit of
I mean, he
Carnage
kinda
vibes.
was in the beginning, right? Like, when he first shows up on Leon in the house
yeah.
Hmm.
The
and
footsteps
he,
is
like,
what got me.
grabs you.
It's his footsteps that got me.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was literally just about to bring up because his footsteps when he first kicks you and then walks towards you, you just hear it literally brings back nightmares from Mr. X and Resident
Yeah,
Evil 2. So
exactly.
it's like
Hmm.
it's definitely and then obviously Nemesis even too from RE3 when it's in like, humanoid form. Yeah, definitely though that one was really fun too. I thought his boss fight was really creative in terms of, for being my first time shooting the canisters when he would pick it up, using the flashbang to really get him and
Hmm.
blind him and then just launching bullets into him. And then also, his grabs, I like the fact that every enemy kind of grabbed you, but you didn't just stay helpless, right? You could immediately like just, launch your knife into them in any way just by pressing R2. So it really
Hmm.
created a nice flow to the fights. So yeah, Bitoris was definitely a lot of fun. And I enjoyed his stages in a way. When he was in
Hmm.
front of you and he grabs you, he's tall, and then eventually when you take his torso off and then he starts like launching himself back and forth. I thought that was pretty creative.
Oh yeah.
Um I would say my favorite fight, oh man, I'd say it had to have been, even though it was really annoying and it was really hard, I have to say it would have been Ramon. I really
Yeah.
just enjoyed the back and forth trash talk between Leon and him during the fight. Like, like, "Oh, don't let me ruin your script," like, "Don't let me I'm not gonna be a part of your script, like, you can keep your little acting thing that you got going on there." And he would, like, call you a pulga, which is a tick, like, in Spanish. It's like I
Hmm.
really enjoyed the quipping back and forth, and then as you would gradually, like, would get him, the satisfaction of being able to, drop him down and launch your sword into his eye, right? And then eventually like figuring out a strategy because that fight was long. That's a long fight. Like I eventually figured out like as soon as I start out, all right, I'm gonna take out my crossbow, attach the mines, and as soon as he showed up, as soon as the fight starts, he's right in the middle. He approaches you and does like a little monologue for like a few seconds. I would just launch an attachable mine right there. The
Yeah.
minute it explodes, he's down. You get to stab him, right? Then you take out because when he comes back up, he's also dazed and he stays there for a while. Take out your shotgun. I launched like four shells into him. Took out another attachable mine and would launch it right into him before he would leave. So this is all like, and I'd say like a 6 second span. And then that second mine would go and he would go down again before he would even get up the stairs, right? Because you start up in that lower section and he kind of goes off to the right towards up the stairs to go like, start being all up in the upper area. So
Right.
that's like the things that I would have to do to like beat him. When I beat him, that's why I had to like take advantage of like that initial section and drop as much damage as I could because once he's up there, he's hard. That's it. Like he's dropping those attacks from above. He's throwing those little pods everywhere that if you don't look down at the floor correctly, you're always running into them and it takes away your
Hmm.
health. So yeah, I think the Ramon fight was a lot of fun and very satisfying once I beat him. That was really cool. Any other fights? Any other fights? Because there are quite a few. I have a close second.
What's your second?
Um,
The Krauser fight.
I knew it. I
Oh
had a
yeah, that
feeling you're gonna say that.
I
Yeah,
forgot about that one.
the Krauser fight. Honestly, I did forget about it a little bit too. I remembered it once I was talking about the Ramon, but I still like the Ramon fight a little better because it wasn't as long for me. I figured out a strategy for Krauser pretty quickly, and I kind of like cheesed them in a bit, especially in the beginning section when you first get to like his maze.
Yeah.
Not I'm not talking about the first knife fight when you're like in that area where you're first talking to him. I thought that was really cool and interesting. Especially the parrying, like when you get a hang of it and you're like knife fighting with him, you don't got your gun, you're just kind of like going back and forth with him. Which is an ode, by the way, to the beginning of the game. You see Leon training with Krauser when he's doing that knife fight.
Hmm.
If you remember the very, very beginning when he first talks
Oh
about
yeah,
how he,
the introductory little
yeah, the
cinematic. Yeah.
introductions, like a little sequence, you see like the knife fight that he was training with Krauser under. So I thought that first part was really cool, but that one it was very one dimensional. Like he would jump one side, but it was just a knife fight. But that section when you finally get to the maze, he would pop up top, right? Immediately would take out my submachine gun, which was already pretty OP at the time. Laid a whole clip into him. He would drop down, right? And then as soon as he was there, you can actually take out your handgun and you can hit him. Mind you, I played with no reticle. I think this is why I died a lot. I played with no reticle, no red dot sight, no HUD, nothing at all. No, you didn't. I didn't see my health. You could just tell when the screen turned a little red. I would
Mhm.
always open up my inventory, obviously, but I would memorize the directional buttons in terms of where they were registered for what weapons were where. And I really appreciated the fact that you can just be that immersive with the game and turn everything off.
Right.
So I was aiming at him, but obviously he had that dodge mechanic, like where he would just like duck and like move to the side really quick and just like close the gap on you. But I would still like, lay handgun bullets into him like constantly. Right. And
Right.
it really was effective at like getting his health down and getting him staggered so you can then like, stab him or do whatever you need to do.
Hmm.
But yeah, that fight was good. The second stage was really awesome when he turns into a thing. I figured out you can parry his arm attack, which took me a while because he was fucking demolishing me with that arm attack. But yeah, a lot of fun in that fight. Anything you took from that boss fight, from that whole section with Krauser?
It is definitely Metal Gear inspired with that first
Yeah,
knife fight.
the constant parrying was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that
Oh
whole knife
man.
fight was definitely a Metal Gear Solid inspired thing. Cause remember in Metal Gear 3 where you had to fight the boss and it was straight hands?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had that. It had that vibe to it. It's a nice little
Honestly,
nod.
it's really cool. I mean, I know in RE6 apparently there's a hand-to-hand section. I believe it's with Wesker. I'm not sure,
Yeah, his son,
but
I think.
yeah, I think but it's like a hand to hand section like the whole time. So like it's obviously a prevalent thing with Resident Evil games after three, but it was so cool. Like especially when you got the perfect parry. Like once you got the hang of it and you realize like you don't stagger yourself. You actually take the hit and you move him and he staggers. So it was,
Hmm.
it was really really well done. In terms of teaching you different mechanics of the game. Like you realize each boss fight is meant to teach you a different aspect of the gameplay. So I really enjoyed the gameplay loop when it came to the bosses and implementing new things with each one. Nothing was boring, nothing was the same or repetitive.
Hmm.
Um Worst boss fight.
I mean, honestly, for me, as much as it was kind of cool and old school, I would say the lake monster fight was a bit lackluster in my opinion because it was at the end of the day you're just throwing the harpoon at it over and over
I
and over and
agree.
Oh,
over and
true.
over. It was
I
it
would
was
have
kind of
loved
like
for
a
them.
it was kind of like nostalgic in the sense that it felt like a very old school video gamey fight, but I think it felt out of place in like the modern all the changes they've made in the game and like updates. It's like they didn't update that at all. It felt like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they kept that exactly the same. I would have loved for them to do something different with that section. Do something. I mean, I get it. There's not much you can do, but maybe you could have put different kinds of, maybe different kinds of javelins, maybe some explosive or some like poison. Maybe there was something where
Yeah.
we ride, him, and we're like, doing like I don't know. We're not developers, right? But they definitely could have done more with that section than just keep it exactly as is. Because if anything, that was one of the sections in the game that needed a refreshing like take on it, right?
Yeah.
The lake monster. So I agree. That definitely was an underwhelming fight. I mean, even El Gigante was exactly the same, but I really enjoyed it, because it was good to begin with, right? For me, I don't know. I didn't play the original. I don't know if it's because of the way I approached it, but I mentioned this to you guys before. I think the Sadler fight was a little underwhelming for me for being a final boss.
I can
Um,
see that.
he only had one other stage, right? And I guess by that point in the game, you really just got the mechanics down. So it's really easy. Now, again, it wasn't meant to be easy, but I took the easy route. I kept my RPG like off to the side for that fight because I knew like how many times I had died from the other bosses. I needed to kind of use it. I had a magnum with 6 bullets, and I pretty much handled him. I think I have the clip. I think it took like 2 minutes, maybe less. The only thing that took me long was so when he first pops up and he first changes into that spider-like thing with all the eyes everywhere. I shot an RPG at one of the big eyes on his like right arm, right? Immediately he changed. It went to the second stage.
Mm.
Immediately he falls down. Leon goes to the edge to see what happened, and then he pops back up, and then now he's this big behemoth thing, right? And then, much to my surprise, this was hilarious to me. Then Ada comes out of nowhere in that section, and what does she give you? Another RPG. She
Oh
just
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
I was like, this can't be scripted any better. I think that was the best strategy I ever had. Save my RPG because I only had one bullet and I didn't have the RPG recipe, like the
Yeah.
ammo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I only had one and I was like, I gotta save it. So I used it. I was like, all right, fuck. Like now I'm in the second stage and now I have to like, all right, now I gotta fight him. And this is definitely gonna be hard. And then Ada comes out of nowhere and she's like, hey, here, take this. And it's another RPG. I'm like, oh shit, like this is crazy.
He's
I
like he
shoot
doesn't
the
even know what's coming to him.
like I'm just like, oh, this is perfect. I probably didn't even need it. Like it's great that they did that in the game, but I shot the RPG. He didn't die yet. But yeah, it was a little underwhelming because then it's a cutscene. He kind of like, he's like, oh, I'm tired of your shit. And then he like runs a little bit. He gets like up close and personal, takes his staff, and he says, he just stabs him. I'll give you your holy ritual or something like that, or your holy body or something. And then he like stabs him with his staff, and then that's it. Like you back, he obviously gets thrown away to the side, and the guy dies. Lord Sadler dies. I would have thought that would have been more akin to, if you guys remember in RE7 when you finally face Jack, right? So like I would have thought Lord Sadler would have been something a little more akin to that with more stages and more evolutions. But
Mhm.
he had the initial evolution, which he turned into that big hulking thing. And then he has the evolution where you don't even know what the hell he is. It's just like an orb, and and then there's just tentacles everywhere, right? I was a little underwhelmed by that boss fight. I understand I took the easy way out and I will go back and try it again, but I saw his attacks, I saw what he did. He jumps, he's like coming at you as the spider. And considering like what it was and how big the targets were with the eyes, I feel like it wouldn't really have changed much if I had taken just, using my guns because they were also powerful.
Mhm.
So I was a little underwhelmed by that final boss fight. Considering that was literally it. He dies automatically. And then the way out when you escape, I was ready for like it said 2 minutes. I was ready for some Metroid style shit where like you had to like
Oh,
fight mad enemies.
yeah. I got out in like I got out with like plenty of time to
Yeah,
spare.
but I was
Like,
I was out in like 25 seconds.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I had a minute plus left on the timer when I got out of
I was
there.
like, is this supposed to be a challenge? Like I first, they burst through the door, he grabs you, right? But then you stab him, but then he dies. And then I literally wasted multiple clips of like submachine guns on enemies that were already dying. Like I didn't know what was going on with them. I just wanted to stop them from what I thought was transforming. But they were just like wriggling all on the floor. They were dying because I killed the main guy. So literally, I ran past all the enemies. Nothing popped. I thought I was gonna face regenerators, fucking Ramon's
Nah,
assassin.
that would have been crazy.
I thought I was getting the gauntlet on my way out, right? But none of that happened. I literally just waltzed my way to the boat. The boat section was okay, like it wasn't challenging at all, but it was
Yeah.
it was frantic and it was hectic, like trying to get around all the falling debris and everything. That was cool. But yeah, I think that last section was very underwhelming for me. That was the only part of the game that I was like,
Mhm.
damn, they could have done more with that.
You know, by
So
that time, you already dealt with so much like shit throughout the game. They probably like ran out of ideas to make it like pop out
right.
as
Yeah, to revamp it anymore.
I
yeah,
mean,
like all the
We've done
things they
enough.
threw at you throughout the whole game. Like yeah,
yeah,
they probably
bro.
ran out of like, all right, what can we do differently?
The two Gigantes took the cake. Like when they threw those two at me at the same time, I was like, this game is insane. They're just crazy. So then, I thought maybe they would have had some regenerators like as side enemies, or something for Sadler, or have enemies coming at you from the side. There were many instances where you're facing a boss and there's side enemies, right, throughout the game,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it was just him. So that there was one. It wasn't for me. It's like a 9.8 out of 10. The game, and I literally just hearkened to that ending. I think
Yeah,
the
that's
ending
fair.
was just a little underwhelming.
It's a fair score.
Yeah.
Right.
But what do you guys think about the ending? I'm sure you guys saw it. What do you guys think about what they teased going forward and where you think the RE franchise is going to go from here?
Man, I mean, I really like the ending and like the little stinger, like the little teaser stinger at the end. In
Mhm.
terms of where they go next, I mean, it's either I think that's pretty much either going to be an RE5 remake or Code Veronica remake, as we've said, right? So
Mhm.
I think, I mean, there's arguments for both ways. I think the fan consensus tends to be more that people want a Code Veronica remake more than they want an RE5 remake,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, I think both will come eventually. But
Yeah.
I
We
feel
did a
like I
poll on the channel and I think
yeah.
Code Veronica took the cake, and I've seen multiple polls all over Twitter even as well, and it's kind of close on those between RE5 and Code Veronica, but consistently Code Veronica has more votes
Yeah.
for a remake, just because of the, I think it's a time frame. Do you know? So just for a synopsis of people that don't know, where does Code Veronica take place in the timeline of RE?
It takes place a few months after Resident Evil 2 finishes, and it runs concurrent with Resident Evil 3 when Raccoon City is being destroyed. But it's obviously in a different place because you follow Claire and Chris Redfield instead of
Which is a
Jill
dynamic
Valentine.
dynamic duo to be controlling, right? Like if we're
Yeah,
talking
Yep.
about characters that are beloved in the franchise, Claire and Chris Redfield. I mean, obviously Chris from RE5, but Chris and Claire together.
yeah, that boulder punching motherfucker.
Yeah, bro, we haven't gotten that, and
Yeah,
apparently the story for it is amazing as well for Code Veronica. So it's something that is definitely um more deserving of a refreshing take, considering RE5 is in the same ilk of RE4. It's much more modern and
mm,
the story's more developed. Code Veronica had an awesome story, but obviously held back by
yeah,
the,
and
the graphics at the time.
yeah, it
Mhm.
came out in 2000. It came out on the
Yeah.
Dreamcast in
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
2000.
it's
much
due.
more.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
due.
I'm more of a fan of like the older RE games getting remade, right?
yeah,
So
I
like I
agree.
really want to see Resident Evil One, like the
Yeah,
first one,
like
remade.
built from the ground up.
Built from the ground up.
Mhm.
Because I think as much as they remade, like it was just a remaster for me in terms of what happened with the remake that they did on PlayStation 3 and on all those systems. But definitely a game that's deserving of it, right? A lot of iconic moments in that. See, the thing with 5, right? This is one thing with 5. I feel like as much as we've seen RE2, RE3, RE4, right, get these remakes where they're very close to the source material, I think RE5 is going to have, if they do go that route, it's going to have the most changes
And 6 too.
structurally.
Six was, I think, received much worse than 5 was
Oh yeah,
Yes.
six was
in terms of, like,
Yeah.
abysmal.
critical and fan response, yeah.
Mhm. So I mean, and obviously, ever 6 is famous for having too many storylines going on at the same time,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
it's just it wasn't stuck to anything for too long for you to get used to it. I do think that they still maybe do that because it wasn't a bad idea, right? It just wasn't executed right. The writing was bad, like it was just cheesy, and there was a lot of action, right? But people loved the action, and they loved the idea
Yeah,
of them going through those timelines like that with the current writing that they have now and the skill sets that they have now, and obviously how they're executing, I would love to see them do RE6 in that vein. But in terms of RE5, let's be real, it was pretty controversial when the game came out. And they've already shown that they're not willing to keep those controversial traits of these games in the remakes,
yeah,
right? So obviously it being taking place in Africa, there was a lot of controversy about how the game was received in terms of how it portrayed, even though it had nothing to do with it. right? But how it
Mhm.
portrayed Africa, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't very, wasn't what you would say, wasn't very nice.
And
Right?
the fact that the majority of the story took place in the daylit setting also was kind of weird. I felt like for a horror,
Yes, it wasn't scary.
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
So there's definitely a lot they can do. I feel like if they do go to RE5, it'd be because they know they're gonna have to change a lot, and it'd be a fresh, sort of like the first fresh remake in a way. Which I mean, I guess you wouldn't even call it a remake, right? But like I enjoyed the motorcycle like section. Like yeah, there was one section where I'm playing through RE5 right now on the Switch, by the way, which is
Oh,
a lot
really?
of, yeah, it's on the Switch, and the graphics are just fine. Frame rate's great. It plays great, honestly. All the RE games, those RE4, 5, and 6, they apparently play awesome on the Switch. So
Mhm.
I've played 4 just a little bit, but I'm going deep through 5 right now. And one thing I loved about it is just the creativity in the action sections, right? There was one section where they're riding motorcycles, and they come in, they're like literally going around you at full speed. You have to try to like shoot the motorcycles to get them off of it. And there's just, they obviously they can get close. There's a lot of animation that's involved in it. And it was really cool. It was very creative. So I feel like there's gonna be things they take from it, but RE5 will be changed a lot. I think I'm gonna stick with that.
Yeah,
That
I would agree.
Mhm.
I don't think they do an RE9 yet. I think that's still a ways off. I don't think
Yeah.
they're ready to go past 8 and Village just yet. I think there's a lot there with the remakes and how much they're changing things. Like Wesker's alive, right? Like a lot of people had the question like, how is Wesker alive? It's
Literally,
a
he
change.
fell in lava.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they're wondering like there's obviously a lot of story there that they need to flesh out. So, we kind of just have to wait for the next iteration of the RE franchise for RE9. I think it's a ways off. So we're going remake route still.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't have a problem with it. And I sincerely think Code Veronica's next. I mean, it's an amazing remake from top to bottom. Obviously, one of the things people are talking about is I see people on their 5th, 6th playthroughs, right? Getting all the outfits, getting all the charms, getting all the little perks that you can get. Obviously maxing out your weapons, going through the game with an RPG, right? Like just like killing everything with an RPG in one shot, speed runs. So obviously there's a lot more to the game, and we haven't even touched on mercenaries. Obviously, just the horde mode that's been included with the game. It came out a little bit after. It's a lot of fun. It's got power ups. It's very akin to the original mercenaries. It's got some extras. But just a nice horde mode for you to just get lost in the gunplay of the game, right?
Mhm.
Very well done. There's so much in the game that it's keeping people playing even after the 20 to 25-hour story is done, which is amazing. You don't see story campaign games doing that anymore. The replayability is just not there for a lot of them. But in this game, there really is. There's section skipping that you can learn. But yeah, that's pretty much it for us here at Filmic. I mean, I think this has been an amazing conversation. It's obviously warranted with how amazing this remake turned out to be. Overall, I give it a 9.8 out of 10. The only thing that really just bothered me, and didn't bother me enough, but it bothered me, was the ending. A little underwhelming. What do you guys give it? Brendan, you first.
Honestly, you probably hit the nail on the head with that. I'd probably give it like if I can't think of a reason to score it any less than a 9.8, and I can't really, and I definitely think that like little bit off, like deducting from the ending is perfect. So I'd probably go the same route as you, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I really
I
can't
didn't
like
want to take off too much. Like, it's
yeah.
not a nine and a
Mhm.
half.
There's
I
not
just
much.
want
Yeah, exactly. There's not really much to fault it for, and like I'm not gonna like
nine
Yeah,
point seven
exactly.
five. Let's do
yeah.
9.75.
Oh my
Nine
Brendan,
point
god.
seven, 9.75623.
what say you, Show?
I mean, no, I agree with both of you. I mean, I don't want
Hmm.
to be the only odd man, but like, I'm gonna just say 9. And now I
Yeah,
gotta now I gotta
explain
nitpick.
yourself.
Yeah, I gotta nitpick all the things of why I gave it a 9 solid. Like,
Definitely, definitely. And I think the game is very, very well deserving of our 9.75 out of 10. So with that, that's everything we got here. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Once again, we're on Instagram. We just started pages on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm gonna be focusing on giving, editing tips and things like that, and little ideas that I come up with from my edits, breaking down our videos in a way. On top of clips as well, but mostly our clips will be on Instagram, so you guys can get an idea of what content will be where. YouTube is long form content. Instagram is going to be those juicy clips, just keeping them short and concise. Twitter's gonna be editing tips for you guys if you guys ever want to look at see how I get to the end product of my edits. And just building out our ecosystem. So we hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Mission accomplished, right?
Patch me through. I've obtained the amber.
Excellent.
Just one question. What are you planning to do with this?
Mission accomplished. When you're home safe.
Thank you for saving me.
I do not pay you to ask questions. All you need to know is a new dawn is breaking. Come on. Let's go home. 100 will give their lives so that just one may live. I am expediting that change.
So, we're talking millions of casualties.
Billions.